On the night when the rain hammered against the city of Seattle like 1,000 morning drums, turning sidewalks into rivers and drowning out even the sound of distant traffic, a moment was unfolding in a narrow street behind Larkwood Avenue that would forever alter the paths of three strangers who had never expected their lives to collide. The storm was merciless, the kind that forced people to hurry under awnings or rush into cafes, reminding everyone of just how fragile human beings were against the fury of nature. But tucked between two dimly lit buildings, where the fading neon sign of an old pawn shop buzzed weakly through the downpour, lay a young mother named Elena Brooks, her clothes soaked through, her breathing shallow, her strength all but drained. Curled against her side was her little son, a boy no older than 5, clutching a faded blue backpack as if it were a lifeline, trembling and whispering for his mother to wake up. And stepping into that drenched alley, his expensive trench coat stuck to his skin and polished shoes splashing through puddles, was a man who never in his life imagined he would be guided here by something larger than coincidence. Adrian Clark, a single father and the founder of a rapidly rising architectural firm. At that moment he was not a successful businessman, nor the man magazines loved to call the visionary of the Northwest. He was simply a father who heard a child's shaky voice cry, "Sir, my mama can't stand up," and something deep inside him cracked open. Exhausted from a long day of negotiating contracts and desperate to get home to his 10-year-old daughter, Adrian had taken the alley as a shortcut, only wanting to escape the relentless storm. But the instant he saw the frail woman collapse further against the wall and the terrified little boy tugging at her limp arm, every frustration and worry dissolved into something fierce and protective. Kneeling beside them, his coat dragging through the muddy water, Adrian gently touched the woman's forehead and felt the alarming coldness of her skin, saw the faint tremors in her fingers as she tried to remain conscious for her child's sake, and instantly understood she was in serious trouble. Her eyes fluttered open for a second, revealing soft brown irises clouded with exhaustion and fear, before slipping shut again. The little boy, whom Adrian would later know as Oliver, clung to his sleeve with tiny shaking hands and whispered, "Please help her. Please don't leave," with a desperation that lodged itself deep in Adrian's chest. Without hesitation, he scooped Elena into his arms, shocked by how light she felt, how her body sagged against him like she hadn't eaten properly in days. He wrapped his coat around her and guided the boy out of the alley, shielding both mother and son with his own body as the rain pounded over them like a flooded sky. He flagged down a cab, waving off the driver's irritation about drenched passengers, and focused only on getting Elena somewhere warm, somewhere safe. At North Shore General Hospital, everything blurred into bright lights, rushed footsteps, and medical staff taking Elena from his arms while Oliver refused to let go of Adrian's hand, his small fingers gripping tightly as though releasing them would make the world fall apart. Adrian stayed with the boy in the waiting room, offering him a warm cup of cocoa from a vending machine and listening as Oliver explained between little sobs how he and his mother had been sleeping in shelters when space was available and on cold floors of bus stations when it wasn't. She had lost her job at a bakery months ago due to downsizing, then lost the apartment, then everything else that kept life stable. She had been skipping meals so Oliver could eat, working any temporary job she could find, and the last 2 nights they'd been walking long distances trying to reach a community center they heard might have beds available, but the storm arrived faster than they expected. Listening to this, Adrian felt a familiar ache, memories of his own mother, who had raised him alone, working double shifts and often collapsing onto the couch with exhaustion she never complained about. He recognized the quiet bravery of women who gave everything for their children, even when the world took more than it ever gave back. When the doctor finally came out and explained Elena was suffering from severe dehydration, malnutrition, and borderline hypothermia, Adrian exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. She would recover, but only with rest, warmth, and proper care. When they allowed him into her room, Elena's eyes opened slowly, confusion flickering in them as she tried to sit up, and apologized repeatedly for being a burden or causing trouble, but Adrian stopped her gently, insisting she owed him no apologies. Over the next few days, he visited every morning and evening, bringing fresh meals, warm clothing, and toys for Oliver, who began to follow Adrian around the room with trust that warmed the man's heart in ways he hadn't felt in years. When Adrian brought Lily to meet them, the two children bonded instantly, coloring pictures together at the small hospital table, and giggling in a way that made Elena smile through her lingering fatigue. Adrian found himself staying longer each time, drawn to the tender resilience in Elena, the way she always thanked the nurses, insisted Oliver eat before she did, and tried to stand even when her legs trembled. When Elena was discharged, Adrian arranged temporary housing for her through a charity he donated to, assuring her it was not charity meant to pity, but support meant to rebuild. He also offered her a position at his firm, not as a favor, but because she had once worked as a receptionist, an organizer, and a bakery assistant, roles requiring responsibility, patience, and dedication. Reluctant but hopeful, Elena accepted, and slowly her life began to steady. Oliver entered a children's program near the firm, spending afternoons with Lily as the two kids developed a sibling-like bond. Adrian saw Elena every day now, sometimes in the office where she learned quickly and worked diligently, sometimes outside where they picked up their children together. He noticed how her smile returned, small at first, then brighter each time she realized she wasn't walking through life alone anymore. Months later, after Oliver's 6th birthday, Adrian invited Elena and her son to dinner at his home, suggesting it as a simple evening among friends. The atmosphere was warm, Lily helping Oliver decorate cupcakes in the kitchen while Elena laughed softly as Adrian attempted to cook pasta and ended up burning the garlic. They talked for hours about childhood memories, favorite books, dreams they never had the chance to chase, and for the first time in a long while, Elena felt the kind of safety that didn't make her feel indebted or ashamed. As the night wrapped up and Elena helped Oliver into his small jacket, Adrian reached gently for her hand and told her something she never expected to hear. "You didn't interrupt my night in that alley," he said softly. "You gave it purpose." Tears filled Elena's eyes, not from sorrow, but from a profound sense of relief, of finally being seen, valued, and understood after years of feeling invisible to the world. In that moment, something shifted between them, something quiet but unbreakable, something that began with compassion in a rain-soaked alley and blossomed into hope that neither of them had dared to believe in anymore. And to anyone who has ever doubted whether kindness still exists, let this be a reminder that even one selfless moment can rewrite the course of someone's life, turning suffering into strength, strangers into family, and lost nights into new beginnings.